Welcome once again to Bio 208 Population Genetics and Evolution, Unit 2, Session 6, Industrial Melanism. And by the close of this session, you should be able to describe industrial melanism and identify and explain the types of industrial melanism. So industrial melanism may be defined as a proportional increase of dark or melanin pigments in individuals of a population caused by changes in the environment resulting from industrial pollution. Both increases in the frequencies of distinct melanic forms and the general darkening of some or all forms within a population may be involved. Peppered moths, that's Biston betullaria, are nocturnal animals that remain motionless attached to the surface of trees during the day. Their major predators are diurnal birds such as thrushes that detect the moths visually and feed on them. Their major predators are diurnal birds such as thrushes that detect the moth visually and feed on them. The peppered moth is polymorphic for color pigments. The common form is light gray and speckled and is highly cryptic, that's camouflage, when seen against the bark of the lichen-covered trees common in the rural English countryside. The second color phase, a melanic or black pigmented form called carbonaria, is quite conspicuous on the light-colored trees of the English countryside. It has been demonstrated experimentally that the two color phases are subject to differential predation by birds. According to degree of crypsis, the polymorphism has been determined to be under genetic control of a single locus with two alleles. The dominant allele corresponds to the melanic form and the recessive allele to the lighter form. The moths with genotypes dominant and codominant are melanic black, Biston betullaria carbonaria, and moths with genotypes recessives are speckled gray, Biston betullaria typica. Among a number of examples of natural selection in nature, industrial melanism in the peppered moth has been perhaps the most iconic. The peppered moth melanism was, at least until recently, a key demonstration of natural selection used in evolution. Briefly, in the Industrial Revolution, melanic or black forms of the peppered moth Biston betullaria family, Geometrida, became much more common than the typical light gray and speckled form in polluted areas of Britain and elsewhere. From the 1890s onwards, biologists argued that the moths which rest with their wings open on tree barks are adapted in wing color to the prevailing background. This is a form of camouflage because bird predators would be able to find the moths if they did not match their background visually. When the trees are dark and sooty, the moths are better off being black. When the trees are soot-free or lichen-covered, they are better off pale and mottled. Increase in melanic form coincided with the onset of the Industrial Revolution. This generated extensive air pollution in the form of vast quantities of black soot from the chimneys of coal burning factories. In heavily industrialized areas such as Manchester and Birmingham in the southeast of England, forests of the previously white lichen-covered tree barks became completely blackened. Under these circumstances, the melanic form became more cryptic than the lighter form. By 1900, the proportion of melanic moths in the Manchester area exceeded 90%. Outside of these industrial areas, trees remained relatively uncontaminated and the lighter form continued to be more prevalent. Increases in pollution following the Industrial Revolution led to changes in the environment. In particular, sulfur dioxide denuded trees and other substrates of lichens, while soot fallout air pollution blackened the resulting surfaces. In response to these changes, the peppered moth rely on camouflage for defense against predators. Birds changed, becoming darker melanic or carbonaria forms in line with the darkening of the substrate that they rest upon by day. These changes that occurred largely illustrate the central melanism of Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. In 1896, J.W. Tutt suggested that Camouflage in bird predation could be involved in the spread of carbonaria. The typical form was camouflage well on surfaces covered by lichen. Pat noted that many natural surfaces had changed as a consequence of pollutants resulting from heavy industry. In particular, the combined effects of sulfur dioxide killed foliose lichens, and soot fallout blackened and denuded surfaces to darker and more uniform substrates. He suggested that on these surfaces, carbonaria were better camouflaged than typical, so gained protection from bird predation. Natural selection through the medium of differential bird predation augmented by hereditary tendency had led to an increase in the frequency of the carbonaria form. Types of industrial melanism. Partial industrial melanism. This involves polymorphic species that had distinct melanic forms prior to the Industrial Revolution. These forms have increased in frequency as a consequence of the effects of industrialization. Polygenic industrial melanism. This type involves species in which the average ground color of some or all members of the population has darkened gradually as a consequence of the effects of industrialization. It should be noted that melanism is a common phenomenon throughout the animal kingdom, with many factors unrelated to industrialization or pollution influencing the substances of melanic forms in some species, including humans. Industrial melanism. Full industrial melanism. This involves distinct melanic forms that have arisen since the Industrial Revolution and have increased as a consequence of the effects of industrialization on the environment. The melanic or carbonaria form of the peppered moth was first recorded in 1848. This carbonaria form is controlled by a mutant RC of a single gene, which is genetically dominant to the RE recessive C, controlling the pale typical form. The carbonaria form spread and increased rapidly in industrial regions of Britain, but not in rural regions. Peppered moths rest by day on the dark bark of trees. Predator birds find peppered moths on tree barks and eat them. The likelihood of a moth being found by a bird depends on its degree of camouflage. Non-melanic peppered moths are better camouflaged than melanics on lichen-covered tree bark. Melanic peppered moths are better camouflaged than non-melanics in areas where tree bark has been denuded of lichens and blackened by soot fallout. The frequencies of melanic and non-melanic moths in a particular area depend on the level of bird predation of each form and the rate of migration of moths into the area from adjacent districts. The consistency in the patterns of increase and decrease in the frequencies of melanic forms correlated to pollution. Thank you.